Hey, what's up? Todd here on campus, and the reason I'm on campus right now is I want to address the topic of how to game in college. This is something I get asked a lot, probably one of maybe the top 10 most frequent questions I get asked, but I usually get asked it when I don't have a lot of time to address it, so I give some quick notes and that's about it. Today I'm going to go deep. Today I'm going to explain thoroughly, top to bottom, how you want to game in college and how you don't want to game in college. So let's get started. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit of my own story. I started learning game in college. I was 18 years old. I was a freshman, and I just knew I needed to get this area of my life handled. I was terrible at it, but what I had was desire to make an effort. And so what I would do is I kind of made a rule for myself. Every single time I saw a girl, I would approach her. And what that actually meant was every time I saw a hot girl by herself, which never happens basically, I would approach her. But at least I was doing something. And by doing that, I did so many approaches at my small school of about 2,000 people that after 2 years, I ended up transferring schools to get more girls. And then I went to another school of the same size and did the same thing for the next 2 years. And I actually got a lot of results because if you're doing that kind of approach, you're gonna get a lot of results. But the other thing that I got was a reputation. I got the kind of reputation where when a girl met me alone, she really liked me. But then if her friends saw her with me or her friends saw me around, they'd be like, there's that guy, da 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 da. Because I got known as the cold approach guy. I got known as the guy that's not in the social circle, but who, fucks girls. And, as long as you're having sex, who really cares, right? But it is gonna hold you back. It's not gonna be the best alternative. So I wanna caution you a little bit against doing what I did, although, to be fair, it was how I got my start and it is a big part of why I am who I am today, so I don't think it was completely bad either. So when we deal with college, the first distinction I wanna make for you is that college is this weird sort of hybrid between cold approach and social circle, because you're not going to know everybody, right? Even on a smallish campus, you're not going to know everybody, but even on a biggish campus, within certain groups, you will know a lot of people and you will see the same people over and over again. So for example, if you're in the same club or hobby or activity or class with someone, you're going to see them on an ongoing basis. And that's a different situation than someone you see randomly walking across the campus who you never plan on seeing again, okay? The more that you're gonna see someone over and over again, the more you play it like social circle game, the more that it's a one-off, the more you play it like cold approach game. However, I wanna encourage you to err on the side of social circle in general because that's what's gonna really give you the results long run, and also because you never know. You never know when someone who you think is a cold approach is actually in social circle. And also, lastly, if you have an established social circle and you meet someone through cold approach, you're gonna have a cool vibe and a cool place to bring them into where that's only gonna enhance your value. So I do wanna encourage you to think of it as more farming than hunting, okay? More sort of planting the seeds and letting them grow than just going out and trying to find the antelope and hunt right then and there. That said, there's a time and a place for both. So to start off with this whole social circle vibe idea, I want to give you a piece of advice that my father gave me when I was in 5th grade. And this is a piece of advice I never took, sorry Dad, and sorry my own penis growing up. Because had I taken this piece of advice, I would have had a much better social and dating and sex life early on. And this piece of advice is, say hello and goodbye to every girl. That's it, okay? You're gonna see certain girls over and over and over again. And if you say hi and bye to them, eventually, just by the fact of them seeing you and having any form of interaction with you, they're gonna come to trust you and know that you're, a positive part of the environment. And oftentimes, from just saying hi or bye a few times, they will start approaching you, so to speak. They'll start initiating the conversation with you. So, theoretically, you walk past a girl who maybe lives in your dorm and you say hi, and she's the first thing she's like, what, hi, right? And just confused why you even said hi to her. The next time you say hi, she's like, oh, hi. And she kind of gets it. The next time you walk by and maybe she says hi first, right? That's key. Or maybe you happen to see her in the cafeteria and you say hi and then she's like, oh, this is this guy I know. She's like, oh, how was your class? And now all of a sudden you're in a conversation that you didn't have to try to start, okay? A lot of guys, when they get into cold approach pickup, they think it's the only way, or they think it's the best way to meet girls. Well, it's not, okay? Cold approach pickup is actually one of the hardest possible ways to meet girls because you have tons and tons of obstacles. Here's the beauty and here's the negative of cold approach. The beauty of cold approach is that if you know how to do a cold approach pickup, every woman on the planet is available to you. It opens up 3.5 billion women as possible candidates for you. The downside is every single one of them, you're going to have to start the conversation in a way that takes a little effort, in a way that might be try hard, in a way that you start out as a stranger rather than with trust established, and definitely not with them inherently chasing you before you walk up. Okay, so it's good in the sense it gives you a lot of possibilities. It's bad in the sense that those possibilities will not come as easily. The beauty of social circle is that when someone already knows you, when they've had an interaction with you, you've been vouched for by their friends, that trust element is already there. And oftentimes, if their friends have said something good about you, the attraction element is already there before you even open your mouth or before you even do anything. And that makes things much, much easier. Because any guy who gets good at game will tell you the hard part is not getting the girl attracted. Getting the girl attracted becomes very, very easy when you become an attractive man. Right? That's the given. The tough part is getting the girl to come home with you, getting her friends to give her permission more so. But if her friends know you and vouch for you, now it gets really, really easy. Okay, so understand that social circle is better than cold approach when you can do it. Cold approach is better because it opens more doors. So that should tell you a little bit how to deal with a college environment, which is any situation that is a social circle situation, don't turn that into cold approach because then you're making it harder. Any situation that's a cold approach, do it as a cold approach because you have to. Okay, so you see a girl randomly walking across campus, that's a cold approach. You're never going to see her again as far as you know. So you have to go in, you have to get her attention, you need to convey value, and at the end of that interaction, you need to be closing. Right? You need to be closing in some way because as far as you know, you're never going to see her again if you don't, so it would be a waste not to. That said, if you meet a girl who is like the best friend of your best friend, and you know she's going to be a new member of your social circle, if you go too hard right away and you're too like eager and like you're too much like trying to close or like, you know, maybe she's leaving the party but she's going to see you again the next day and you're like, no, before you go, let me get your number, and it seems needy or try hard. Well, now you've sort of lost some of that social capital and social value that you had inherently by being part of the group. And also you've established a frame between you and her that you're chasing her and you want something, as opposed to this frame that you're a cool guy, you're sitting back, and she wants to be in your vibe, okay? So understand the purpose of a number, the purpose of a close. It's not a victory in itself, it's to be able to see the person again. If you're gonna see the person again and again without having to close necessarily, then you don't have to go that route, okay? However, within a social circle, don't be the guy that's too friendly and never makes a move, because that's the other side of the spectrum. That's where you don't want to go. You don't want to be the person that's everybody's friend. You have all your interactions with a bunch of people around. You never get the girl isolated, you never get one-on-one, and therefore you never make a move. So at some point, you do need to suggest an activity where she and you are alone, or maybe if you're at a party or you're out and about and there's some time, just be like, hey, you know what, let's go chill for a second. And you need to lead, similar to what you'll see throughout the entire day game course in, close early, close often, close late, how to do an instant date, all those kind of things. You do need to make those moves, all right? Point being though, your goal is to get one-on-one with the girl. Your goal is not to necessarily get a number. If the number doesn't directly facilitate being one-on-one and it would be hard or awkward to get the number, then don't do it. Now, obviously, if it just makes sense, if you're having a great interaction, you're by yourselves, there's nothing that will affect the social vibe, and it just makes sense to like, hey, yeah, let's hang out sometime, get a number, totally good. What I'm talking about, though, is these situations where it's a little awkward, where she's being like dragged away, where she doesn't have that much time, where something just came up, etc. In those circumstances where you have to be like, no, hey, let me break up this whole conversation to get a number. Well, if you're gonna see her again the next day, why bother, okay? So understand that distinction very, very critically. Okay, so now that we've established the fact that you don't want to turn social circle into a cold approach, what is the proper way to manage a social circle, and what is the proper way to create a social circle in the first place? Well, I talked to you about saying hi and bye to every girl and how that's going to create just a lot of girls around you that know you, especially if you're one in a small environment. So for example, if you live in a dorm, saying hi and bye to every girl in the dorm, the girls are going to start to talk and be like, oh, who is that guy? What do you know about him? Oh, he's friendly. He said hi to me. Oh, we had this great conversation. And it starts to build a reputation. That's what you want to go for. You want to go for that thing where even if it's a little slower, you're having people say positive things about you and it's growing in a very positive way. The other thing you want to be very careful about is, we talk in game about like the 4 times rule, burn it to the ground, even like people said, make the host say no, that kind of stuff. You don't want to do that in a social circle environment because you don't want to burn bridges. Because in the same way that people saying good things about you massively helps you in a social circle, people saying bad things about you hurts you even more. If you have like 5 people saying good things about you and 1 person saying awful things about you, you'll probably get a bad reputation. Okay, you have to be very careful about cultivating a good vibe overall, all right? So friendly first, and then only when you're in isolation environments, only when things are already good, do you really make those moves. You do want to play it a little more patiently, okay? So say hi and bye to everyone, build a positive vibe, have as many people having good interactions around you as possible. And by the way, I said say hi and bye to every girl, but here's another thing that would help. Say hi and bye to the guys too, okay? Because the guys are going to be friends with the girls. Sometimes the guys will be like boyfriends of the girl's friend, right? If that's a scenario, that's someone you want on your side as well. So be friendly with them as well. Try and treat them as positive human beings rather than just as like obstacles in the set, right? Try not to get super technical game and be organic and you know, be friendly and have an actual good time and actual like positive life and positive vibe. Now, if you want to take this say hi and bye to everyone thing even further, and I highly recommend you do, what I would recommend is get involved. Get involved in something, anything, everything. Okay, I had a friend, he was actually a virgin after his first year of college, and he hung out with me and some of the RSD guys for that summer, so obviously his game got a lot better, and that's going to be a big part of why he got results the second year. But the other thing he did that was really brilliant was when he went back to school the second year, he got involved in everything. He got involved in like every campus organization, got involved in student government, got involved in like intramural sports, all these different things. And by doing that, and by being outgoing and friendly and social and having decent game overall, he became the guy who everybody knew on campus. And even within some of these places, within some of these activities, he was taking leadership roles. Like people would show up to the first day of something and he'd be the person greeting them. So he was the one who was associated with being a leader of that club. He was the one that was like, who knew what was going on. So when people were confused, they needed a safety blanket, they'd start coming to him. By doing this, he was getting girls approaching him left and right. And he was interacting with girls in a frame of high value and also a frame of tons and tons of comfort, because there's this established shared interest, there's these established common friends that makes it very, very easy for the girl to like be like, yeah, this is a cool guy, yeah, I'll go home with him, why not? Or yeah, I'll hang out with him, why not? They feel completely safe about it. And understand, here's another cold approach versus social circle distinction. In cold approach, you have to establish value early on, because if you don't establish value, she won't stick around long enough for you to become comfortable with her or make her comfortable. So value has to come before comfort. In a social circle, that's not the case. Comfort comes first oftentimes, and that's actually fine, okay? Because you don't need that much value to get laid. What you really need is to be a man and a woman in a room with a bed. If that happens, she's comfortable with you a little bit, and like women like sex, she's not gonna get caught, whatever, good things will happen. Okay, so understand comfort first is a totally viable model when you're gonna see someone over and over again. It's not a bad thing to start off as friends as long as you're capable of making a move later. Now, if you're the guy that's so afraid of touching a girl you're not gonna make a move, that's a problem. Solve that in other ways, right? Or just, you know, man up and just fucking make a move. But assuming that you have that ability to make a move, and if you don't have that ability, check out How to Get Physical and How to Kiss in this course, right? But assuming you have that ability, then comfort first is totally fine. Don't be worried that you have to be the high value asshole guy all the time with girls. It's not necessary. Now, if you can do that within your social circle, if you can within whatever circle you establish, be kind of high value, be alpha, convey your natural personality and don't censor yourself, don't edit yourself, that will help too. Because that's when you're gonna take that social circle and make it not just an opportunity to develop comfort with girls and have them okay with going home with you, that's when you're gonna get girls actually chasing you. That's when you're gonna get girls like talking about you behind your back in a positive way. Right? Talking about you, he's so hot, who is he? He's so mysterious, I want to meet him, and like throwing themselves at you. So first is say hi and bye to everyone. Second is get involved in as many things as possible, build up an actual social circle. Third is within that social circle, truly be yourself and don't censor, right? Now it doesn't mean you have to be, again, like a total douchebag asshole all the time, but it does mean be yourself. If you are the lame super beta in the social circle, actually still being in the social circle might help you, but not very much. If you're fairly alpha and outgoing and like just being who you are within the social circle, now you're gonna be golden. So that's key as well. All right, for a full treatment of social circles in colleges, it would be remiss of me not to mention fraternities and sororities. Very, very important distinction. Should you join one, should you not join one? And honestly, I think it's up to you. I do think it's up to you. Depends on your values and what you're into, that kind of thing. I personally did not join a fraternity when I was in college, and in some ways I'm really happy about that. In some ways I regret it. I'm really happy because I learned to game without alcohol. I learned to game completely on my own 2 feet without having to rely on an environment to bring girls to me. On the other hand, I would have learned social circle game much better had I been in a fraternity, and I probably would have I definitely would have had more sex in college had I been in a fraternity. So I can definitely make a distinction either way. What I would say is specifically, if you have very strong objections lifestyle-wise to drinking and partying and that kind of stuff, and you just don't want to go that route, then don't join the fraternity just to get girls. Find other ways. Join other social clubs, join other activities, be a social alpha in other ways, because fraternities and sororities are only one of many ways you can do that, okay? That said, if you are going to be going out and drinking while you're in college and you are going to be in that lifestyle anyway, you may as well kind of do it right. So in that case, I actually would recommend doing that kind of thing, and I would recommend just like, having as much fun as possible, getting as involved as possible. So that's really up to you as far as that goes. Know that it is within the scope of social circle, within the scope of making things okay, within the scope of a girl considering you like someone she won't lose face by sleeping with or being vouched for by other girls. It can be massively, massively helpful. But also know it's not the only solution. So if you don't espouse that lifestyle, and I know a lot of RSD guys don't, and I actually encourage not espousing that, I'm not a big drinker myself, then I would recommend doing it another route, right? If it were me, probably what I would do going back to school would be, I probably wouldn't join a fraternity, but what I would do is I'd create my own circle, and I would be very, very active in it. I'd be very, very much the alpha, the outgoing guy, the person who knows everybody, etc. And by virtue of that, most likely what would happen, because I know a lot of guys in college this happened with, they weren't necessarily in a particular fraternity, but they knew so many people in that fraternity, and they knew so many people in the sorority system that they just were like kind of the honorary guest. Like they were kind of free to come and go as they liked, right? So that's kind of the ideal. That would be almost the ideal situation that you want to get into. So I think it's a nice thing. If you're gonna do that sort of party program for your college anyway, you may as well do it. Do it like full on hardcore, and meet up with like a lot of people that are in a similar vibe, will vouch for you, will have your back. If you're not going to do that, don't change who you are, especially don't change who you are by adopting bad habits in order just to get girls. There are other ways, and there are ways that are really just as good. They might be a little more effort up front because it's not pre-established for you, but the rewards will be tremendous, especially if you want girls who also aren't heavy drinkers, aren't partiers, aren't going to get put on the freshman 15, that kind of stuff. So those are my thoughts as far as that goes. So I've spoken a lot about becoming a social circle into yourself, meeting a lot of people, farming rather than hunting, that kind of stuff. But that said, a lot of times in college, especially if you go to a big school, you're going to meet girls you're never going to see again, and that becomes a cold approach situation. In that situation, treat it pretty much as any other cold approach, all right? You're gonna have to go in hard, you're gonna have to get her attention, you're gonna want to venue change quickly, you're gonna want to assess her logistics, all the other things I teach in this course. And that's gonna be the day game stuff. If it's out at a college party, then you're gonna be doing typical night game type stuff, all right? So it's gonna be more of a cold approach vibe, and you're gonna treat it pretty much like a normal cold approach. The difference in college of doing a cold approach versus out of college is there is an assumed familiarity. The fact that you're on campus, the fact that you're probably, if you're going to school, about the same age as her, have a similar life experience as her, that kind of stuff, it automatically engenders a lot of trust, and it automatically engenders a lot more kindness, because even if you're not in her social circle or she's not in your social circle, there's an assumption that there are social circles around, and so she will be more reticent. She won't want to burn bridges as quickly, which means that girls will typically respond more nicely to your opens in a college environment than they would otherwise. Now, this won't always be the case. If it's like a bunch of sorority girls in their little sorority thing and they're trying to be cliquish, if they're actively trying to be bitchy, that's a different scenario. But if you happen to see just a girl randomly around campus and she assumes you go to the school, there's a pretty high likelihood she'll be nicer to you than a random girl on the street would. So what does that mean? It means that when you're assessing sort of her blueprint is gonna need less of you being super high value and more of you being friendly and comfortable. All right, so you don't have to necessarily go in so much badass, so much dickhead in that environment as you would in a normal sort of a cold approach. So understand you can dial that back a little bit, but otherwise it is pretty much the same as a cold approach. The other thing though is that when you're dealing with this cold approach social circle mix is that it helps if within the cold approach, you're able to convey that you have a social circle. So if you happen to know where the cool places around campus are, that'll help. If you happen to have cool friends or be invited to parties, that will help. If you happen to know the right names to drop for this, that, and the other, if you know a lot of people, that will help, which is another reason why even if you're doing cold approaches, it's good to have a social circle behind it, okay? So understand that even when you're doing a cold approach on campus, it still is more social circle-y than in another environment, and you want to play to that as well. Again, don't don't swim upstream, right? Every advantage you're given, meaning you go to the same school as her, you're in the same group as her, you're in the same class as her, whatever advantage you're given, you want to use it rather than just ignoring it, because you're going to make your life a lot easier. Lastly, quick word about gaming on campus if you don't go to that school. Well, it depends a little bit who you are. If you're roughly the same age and demographic as the people at that school, just play it as though you're a student or whatever. If you're asked, you can always be like, oh, I have friends here, I'm visiting, that kind of stuff. And if you go to the same campus a lot, you probably will have friends very, very quickly. So it will grow naturally that way. And to be fair, the age that you can be in school reasonably is pretty wide. Like, I'm 33, but I could reasonably be a grad student at just about any school. So you can still play that kind of thing if you want to. Or you can just own it and just be like, yeah, I'm just here using the library, I'm just here using the gym, I'm just here visiting a friend, that kind of thing. It doesn't really matter. Like, a lot of guys are worried about being awkward, or a lot of guys are worried about the age thing, like the age gap thing. The thing with any of those kind of excuses is it's all sort of in your head. Like, who's to say that being older is worse or better? Nobody really is. It's just determined by what value judgment you place on that, right? A lot of times when I'm approaching younger girls, when I start talking to them, they ask me how old I am, and then instead of it being, ew, you're too old, it's like, oh, wow, why do you even like me? I'm so young and silly, I have nothing going on, you're so cool, you've done so much in your life, right? So it's all about the frame that you're bringing to things, and the frame you should always have is that you're totally comfortable with whatever you're doing. Now, again, it will help on some level, just in terms of trust, if there's a plausible reason why you're on the campus. So if you're visiting a friend, using the library, using a gym, that kind of thing as a plausible reason to be there, that's helpful. Again, just because the girl wants the vibe of it just happened. She wants to be able to have the narrative in her head when she can tell her friends, like, oh yeah, we met, it was cool, one thing led to another, it just happened, we grew on each other, as opposed to, this man was stalking the campus looking for sex and I was his victim, right? You don't want that kind of frame. So any kind of plausible reason you can have behind you will help, but the most important thing is understand that's a reason for her, it's not a reason for you. You should make no apologies for your desires as a man, and you should assume that whatever you're doing is completely natural and right at all times, because if you assume that and if you think it's not awkward, they won't think it's awkward either. Okay? So that's a little bit about doing the college thing if you're not in college. And it's a great idea because, again, where else are you going to find so many cute girls gathered in one place? So by all means, use it. Just don't get in your head about it. It's just an environment like any other. It's totally cool for you to be there for a number of different reasons. If you're totally worried, you can actually get involved in some activity so you do have a legitimate reason, but you don't even need that. It's all in your head. As long as your reason is I'm offering value, that's enough. So just to sum up how to game in college for anyone and everyone, understand the unique nature of college, that it is a social circle cold approach hybrid. So you're gonna have a lot of characteristics of a cold approach, i.e. you're gonna meet a lot of people that you don't really effectively know completely through friends of friends, but you do have a shared interest and a shared commonality. And then you're gonna meet a lot of people that you do know through friends of friends, and they're directly people you're gonna see over and over again, even if you don't try. You wanna make a distinction with everybody sort of where they are on that gradient. Is it a pure cold approach? Is it pure social circle that's somewhere in between? And you wanna tailor your game accordingly. The more it is a social circle situation, the more you want to play it slowly, build positive vibes, allow them to get to know you over time, allow positive social proof to work in your favor. The more that it's a cold approach environment, the more you do need to go hard, build value, close hard right then and there, because you'll never see them again. All right, so I hope that helps, and I want to see all of you getting laid like crazy in college.